I mean, for me, always being on the edge, it means like, and it's something that I dealt with it. It's like ego,
Mm.
you know, which is the same thing on a personal level, you know, like
Yeah.
it's an essence and then it's an ego that makes us much functional in this world. Like the ego that is telling us you're supposed to be like this, and society tells you that you need to be this and you need to fit into this, and at this stage you have to be a man, blah, blah, blah. That is
Mm-hmm.
ego, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't let us see the reality, the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of like what you actually really feel and is meaningful for you. So I see the same thing in music, and this realization just came this past couple weeks, you know, and but I remember, and I sort of did with this purpose when I was at Berkeley. I don't know if you remember Wallis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was so vibey. I don't care if I say it right now. Everyone was vibing their ass off. You
I
and
went to Wally's once and I never went back.
it was intense. It was
Okay.
horrible, you know. And also I didn't speak English, and then I was like, oh, because I'm a girl, I'm from like, oof, you know. And I remember the first time I went there, and I left crying, you know. I was like, I just felt horrible. They were playing like at Kurt Wilson Wilkinson. I remember Jackie's place, and then they were playing. Um, I think yeah, I went there and I played My Shining Hour, and they started changing keys, and they were playing like super fast, like really trying to like kick your ass. And I'm so thankful for the experience. I
Mm.
understand now, you know, because there were two options, you know, and I think it's the same thing on a personal level. It's like either you confront your shit or you just quit, you know. And it's a tendency on a personal level, like when we hide into something because we don't want to confront it. So I told myself, I was like, I didn't come to Berkeley to be a crying baby. I just cried. Like,
Mhm.
what is it? You know, like it impacted my whole life. And and I was like, you know, I need to confront this fear because I think that this ego part is really gonna play against what is the real purpose,
Mhm.
which is the journey, you know. And
Right.
so I didn't know the tune, and I remember I went back and I learned My Shining Hour in the 12 keys, and then I learned all the Curvels and Wilkins tunes, and then I kept going, and it was like still uncomfortable, you know. And then at some point, it was like, why am I afraid of? And this question came to mind many times during this last year, and you're gonna keep coming. Like,
Yeah.
why am I afraid of? Why, like, and it's ego, because ego tells you have to sound like this, and this
Mhm.
means to be like a killing saxophone player playing
Yeah.
all shit, you
Yeah.
know. And so I went there until I eventually got the gig, and I was very thankful for all the vibing because it really made me grow up a lot, you know. And I think that is the one place where people are always trying to encourage my students, you know, like, oh well, jam sessions suck and blah blah, but it's not. It's about like making something very important out of that, you know, which is like it doesn't matter, you
Yeah.
know. So for me it's like, and I went back to the same situation when I was in New York. Like I was terrified to go to smalls and everyone was vibing, you know, and it was very intense. So I was like, if I can go there and trying to be in the moment, you know, just not play automatic pilot, not trying to impress anybody, and trying to make the band listening to me, I'm
Mm.
practicing, you know. And so I went there every night. I was younger too, so I had the energy to do it, which
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't now. But I remember like I had like a good couple months. I was like, nobody's listening to me. So I went there. I was like, I just gonna play super soft and very few notes. And you know, like
Mm.
just going onto the stage and playing very few notes and not like blow the horn and when the rock high groove is there. It's like it takes courage, you know.
Right.
It takes like non-ego. It takes to really understand like be mature, you
Mhm.
know. And that was the lesson that I wanted to have regarding
That's
that.
that's so important, and that's something that I also connect with because, I mean, from my time at Berkeley and then even moving to Toronto here, um, I was never too interested in putting myself in a situation of like those vibey situations. And so I didn't go to a lot of jam sessions just because of that. But at the same time, I still think that there were some lessons that I didn't learn at that time because I didn't confront those moments. And now I'm going back. And so, you know, it's what I'm hearing from what you're sharing is it's not just the ability to stay on the edge musically, where that's it pushing the bounds of the saxophone or pushing your ability to play faster or any musical concept, but even personally, staying on the edge of your ego and confronting the things that you need to, so that you're growing both personally and musically at the same time.
Yeah. Being uncomfortable, I think that is one of the most important lessons I learned in this quarantine, to be honest, being really like, okay, it's no gigs, because I always have, I always have the passion to practice, blah, 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 but like I'm talking, without getting deep, like on a personal level,
Mm-hmm.
really uncomfortable, like I separated, like getting divorced in March, so I was like, I gonna I gonna escape. I have so many gigs. I'm not gonna deal with anything. And then boom,
Mm-hmm.
I was alone for like I don't know how many months, and I'm still
Right.
living alone here. And
Mm-hmm.
being uncomfortable is suck, but it's one of the biggest lessons I ever had. And I can see how I knew this from when I was younger regarding music, you know. So the personal part and the musical part were not connected,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of answers to my personal thing, it was like in the way that I was doing music,
Right.
So that's why I always make emphasis is like, if you want to move forward, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to accept where you are. You have to accept the journey, So the same when you're transcribing and you want to sound like somebody, you get to a point where, okay, I get what Mark is doing. So now I have to let it go. And it's a really hard thing to do because you're used to think like somebody else. You don't have identity. And then it's this fear of like, what are my ideas?
Right.
So that uncomfortable part of the process is as important as all the hours practicing and trying to master somebody else's voice on the
Mm-hmm.
instrument.